We spend so much time thinking about food for energy, or for our heart, or for weight loss, but what about for our legs? Today, we're gonna dive deep into the really surprising connection between what's on your plate and how your legs actually feel. We'll look at how you can use food as a secret weapon to fight that heavy, achy feeling and get your circulation flowing smoothly, all from the inside out.
So, let me just ask you this. Picture the end of a long day. Do your legs feel kind of heavy, almost like you're dragging them around? Maybe you look down and see some puffiness around your ankles, or you've got this dull ache that just won't quit. Well, you're not alone. These are incredibly common feelings, and more often than not, it's your body trying to send you a signal.
The best way to think about it is like this. Your entire circulatory system is this massive, intricate highway network. Your veins? Those are the roads, and their job is to get blood back to your heart. So when your legs feel off, it's basically a sign that there's a traffic jam on that highway. Blood just isn't flowing the way it should be, and that backup is what's causing all those uncomfortable symptoms.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to figure out what this traffic jam really is. Then we'll meet the three main villains causing the congestion: the artery cloggers, the pressure builders, and the inflammation triggers. But don't worry, it's not all bad news. After that, we'll introduce the heroes of our story, the foods that can help clear the road, and we'll wrap it all up with a super simple, actionable swap you can make today.
So what is this traffic jam really? In medical terms, it can show up in a few different ways. You might have heard of Peripheral Artery Disease, or PAD. That's basically when the arteries going to your limbs get narrow. Or maybe you've heard of edema, which is just a fancy word for swelling caused by trapped fluid. There's also venous insufficiency, which means the tiny one-way valves in your veins have gotten a bit weak. But here's the key takeaway. These are all just different symptoms of the exact same core problem. Blood flow is being restricted. And our bodies have a lot of ways of telling us about this congestion. It's not always about seeing varicose veins. Think of these as the warning lights on your body's dashboard. It could be that dull ache we talked about, or pain when you walk, maybe some numbness, or even changes in your skin color. Every single one of these is a signal that the highway is getting backed up. Okay, let's meet our first villain, the artery cloggers. These are the foods that literally start to narrow the lanes on your circulatory highway by creating the sticky plaque buildup. So here's how it actually works. When you eat a lot of foods high in saturated and trans fats, they cause the level of LDL, or bad cholesterol, to go up in your blood. This stuff is, well, it's sticky. It starts to cling to the walls of your arteries, creating plaque. The medical term for this is atherosclerosis. But really, just think of it as debris piling up in the highway lanes, making it harder and harder for the traffic, your blood, to get through. So what foods are we talking about here? Well, the main culprits are probably not going to surprise you. We're looking at things like red and processed meats. Think bacon, sausage, that kind of stuff. Deep-fried foods, of course, and also full-fat dairy products like butter, cheese, and cream. Just cutting back on these can make a huge difference in keeping those arterial roads clear. Okay, moving on to our next villain, the pressure builders. Now, these foods don't just clog the highway, they actually put extra strain on the entire system. It's kind of like creating a massive system-wide speed bump. The number one bad guy here is sodium, salt. When you take in too much sodium, your body, in its wisdom, holds on to extra water to try and balance things out. But that extra water increases the total volume of blood pumping through your system, and more volume means higher pressure pushing against your vein walls. For your legs, if they're already struggling a bit with circulation, this added pressure is a direct cause of worse swelling and discomfort.
And sodium is sneaky. It's not just about the salt shaker on your table. It is hiding everywhere, in processed foods, canned soups, frozen dinners, and of course fast food. Even things you might think are okay, like some deli meats or pickled vegetables, can be absolutely loaded with it. The key here is to just get in the habit of reading labels and being aware of those hidden sources.
All right, our final villain might be the most insidious of them all, the inflammation triggers. These foods don't just create a traffic jam, they actually start to damage the road itself, weakening your veins from the inside out.
Here's the deal. Excess sugar and refined carbs, we're talking white bread, pasta, that sort of thing, they trigger this low-grade chronic inflammation all over your body. And that constant inflammation can damage the delicate walls and tiny valves inside your veins, making them way less effective. But wait, there's more. On top of that, these same foods often lead to weight gain, which puts even more physical pressure on the veins in your legs. It's a real double whammy.
So yeah, we're looking at the usual suspects: sugary drinks, candy, cookies, pastries, and those refined carbs we just talked about. Excess alcohol also falls into this category because it can dehydrate you and put extra pressure on your whole vascular system. So cutting back on these is really key to reducing that internal damage.
Okay, enough about the villains. That's the bad news. The good news is, it's time to bring in the heroes. Let's talk about the foods that actively fight back, the ones that work to clear that traffic jam and actually strengthen your circulatory highway.
And this right here, this is basically your nutritional toolkit for awesome vein health. Let's just walk through it. First, to fight that inflammation we mentioned, you want antioxidants and flavonoids. Think colorful foods like berries and dark leafy greens. To actively improve blood flow, to literally widen those highway lanes, you want omega-3s from things like salmon and walnuts, and nitrates from foods like beets. Oh, and here's a cool little fact. Your body actually converts those nitrates into something called nitric oxide, which is a powerful vasodilator. That means it literally relaxes and widens your blood vessels. How cool is that? Then, to fight back against the pressure-building sodium, potassium is your absolute best friend. Find it in bananas, sweet potatoes, and legumes. And finally, to actually strengthen the pavement of the road itself, your vein walls, you need vitamin C and E from citrus fruits, bell peppers, and almonds. Each one plays a really specific crucial role.
So let's make this super practical. Instead of reaching for those salty chips, just swap them for a handful of almonds. Trading your white bread sandwich for one made with whole grain bread, that's such an easy win. Ditch the sugary soda for some water with a squeeze of lemon, or a nice herbal tea. And instead of a creamy, high-fat salad dressing, just go for a simple olive oil vinaigrette. See? These little swaps can add up to some really big benefits over time.
I know, this can all sound like a lot to take in at once, but getting started is actually way simpler than you think. The goal here isn't about being perfect overnight, it's just about making progress.
So here's your first mission, okay? Step 1. Just think about your diet and identify one of those villain foods that maybe shows up a little too often. Step 2. Pick one hero from our toolkit that you can easily swap in its place. And step 3, and this is the most important, start small. Consistency is so much more powerful than perfection.
And really, this quote from the Tennessee Vein Center just nails it. A balanced diet isn't about some single magic food. It's about a combination of choices that all work together to strengthen your veins, balance your blood pressure, and reduce that uncomfortable fluid buildup. It's the whole package.
So, I want to turn this back to you. What's the one simple swap you can commit to making this week to start clearing the traffic on your own highway? Drop your idea in the comments below. Seriously, your swap might be the perfect inspiration for someone else who's watching. And hey, if you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to subscribe for more explainers that help you take control of your health one simple step at a time. Thanks so much for watching.